Hello, I'm Shane Jackson from BetMGM, and in this video I will preview the Coach of the Year race ahead of the 2025-2026 NBA season. This is my favorite market to talk about, especially after cashing a 30-1 preseason future on Kenny Atkinson last year. I feel like I have a good grasp on this market, and that's because there's a specific formula to winning this award. Atkinson won this award last year after guiding the Cavaliers to 64 wins and the number one seed in the Eastern Conference. He helped the Cavaliers win 16 more games than they did in the previous season, and they cleared their preseason win total of 48.5 by 15.5 games. And all those factors follow a familiar pattern for the type of coaches who win this award. Since 2010-2011, there have been 10 Coach of the Year winners who have led their team to the number one seed. The average playoff seed for a Coach of the Year winner over the last 15 years is 1.7. It's not enough to simply exceed expectations. You have to lead your team to an elite group, which is why Atkinson won this award over J.B. Bickerstaff last year. Along those lines, the last 15 Coach of the Year winners have guided their team to an average of 57.7 wins. They also saw an average win improvement of 11.9 compared to the previous season. And their average preseason win total since 2010-2011 has been 45.4. Simply put, I'm targeting a coach of a team who can make that leap from good to great. They need to compete for one of the top spots in their conference after a double-digit win improvement, but they also can't be expected to make that jump before the season. Now, remember that last point. You can't be expected to make the leap before the season. And that's very key because I had circled Jamal Mosley of the Orlando Magic as the obvious pick to win this award this year. The Magic were a 500 team last year, and now they project to be one of the top teams in the Eastern Conference, making that leap from good to great. The problem is, the market is already counting on that improvement. Orlando's win total is 51.5, and Mosley is the betting favorite to win Coach of the Year. But for Mosley to win this award, Orlando needs to be a 60-win team and to top the Cavaliers for the number one seed in the Eastern Conference. And look, that's certainly on the table. I really like the Magic and their upside this year. But it's not something I'm willing to bet on at its current 4-1 price in the preseason. And with that, I'm as surprised as anyone when it comes to my Coach of the Year best bets this season. I'm betting on the ceiling outcome for two teams with a path to finishing as the top team, one of the top seeds in their conference. And first up is Philadelphia 76ers head coach Nick Nurse at 35-1. The downside for the 76ers is obvious, which we saw last year when everyone got injured and they won 24 games. And that's very much on the table again, which is why I wouldn't touch their win total of 42.5 this preseason. However, I don't think the upside is being baked in as much this season. This time last year, Philadelphia was viewed as the third best team in the Eastern Conference. But despite the East being weaker this year, the 76ers are no longer viewed in that same way. Of course, any bet on the 76ers is a bet on better health from both Joel Embiid and Paul George. Well, Embiid appears to be ready for the start of the season, and Paul George has begun participating in live 5-on-5 drills. And when healthy, this team is more talented than most of the teams in the Eastern Conference. Again, all the caveats aside, I'll just take the 35-1 flyer on the ceiling outcome for the 76ers with this Nurse Coach of the Year bet. And speaking of flyers, allow me to make the argument for Golden State Warriors head coach Steve Kerr at 80-1. The path to Kerr winning this award is much simpler, even if we are relying on an older team to stay healthy for an 82-game regular season. Golden State won 48 games last year and earned the number 7 seed after winning the play-in tournament game. If the Warriors did jump up to number 2 or number 3 in the West, Kerr would have to be considered for a second Coach of the Year award. And you might scoff at that idea, but it's not as crazy as you think. The Warriors went 23-8 after trading for Jimmy Butler last February, ranking 3rd in net rating and 1st in defense rating over that span. This was an elite team during that stretch, especially on the defensive end. Golden State added Hal Horford in the offseason as a stretch center to help the spacing on the offense. Jonathan Kuminga is back in a potential trade chip down the road. And Buddy Hield had a really strong finish to last season. This is one of the older teams, but I actually think that helps Kerr's chances of winning this award. We know Butler, Steph Curry, and Draymond Green are going to miss games at some point during the season. But if they don't miss them at the same time, Golden State has the depth to overcome it. Dunks and Threes model gives the Warriors a 20% chance of claiming the number 3 seed, and a 16% chance of notching the number 2 seed. And this 80-1 price tag has an implied probability of 1.23%. Based on that alone, Kerr is the obvious bet in what could be the Warriors' last ride this regular season. Again, I'm as surprised as anyone about these two Coach of the Year bets. But if we assume the Cavaliers and the Thunder are the number one seeds in both their conference by a comfortable margin, and that's what I'm assuming, I think this year's Coach of the Year winner is going to be that surprise number 2 or number 3 seed this year in either conference. And so I will bet the two Flyers of Steve Kerr and Nick Nurse in this market.